Ako si China.
At ako naman si Paul.
Ito ang Project 150, the podcast.
Magandang araw at hello sa lahat ng ating listeners. Nandito tayo sa ating isa na namang episode ng Project 150 podcast. At ang ating topic, ano bang topic natin ngayon?
Kamusta na ang publishing? Yan. Kamusta?
Yun, so
for that,
mo nating mag-introduce yung ating guest for this episode.
Sige, hello. Ako si Karl Castro. Isa akong artist, designer, at saka ngayon guro na rin. Isa rin akong aktivista. So, halo-halo ang mga larangang. Nice to meet you all.
Hello, kamusta? Kamusta ka, Carl? Dito sa mga nabanggit mo, yung pinagkakabalan mo, ano ang kumakain ngayon ng pinakang malaking chunk ng oras?
Halo-halo kasi sila. Parang hindi ko sila titingnan as hiwa-hiwalay na threads. Kasi, kunyari, yung pagtuturo ko, malaki rin ang hinahalaw niya sa karanasan ko bilang artist, bilang designer, bilang aktivista. The same thing. Sa activist work, humahalaw ako mula sa art, sa design, at pagtuturo. Parang ganun. So, and then sa pagde-design ko, ang dami ko rin natututunan dahil nagtuturo ako. Parang ganun. So, halo-halo siya for me. At this moment, ang kumakain ng oras ko ay pagtuturo dahil ang hirap ng online classes at design work dahil kailangan natin magtrabaho para mabuhay. Lalo na ngayong pandemya na mas mahirap mabuhay, kailangan ng kabuhayan. Minsan na isasantabi yung art. I'm not a rich kid, so I can't just take a break and do art. Pero I think yun din naman yung challenge. Kaya rin siguro yung art ko ay magulo. Kasi hindi siya hobby.
Bakit or kailan ka nagsimula or naisipan mo magsimula na tumalon sa book design?
Okay. Actually, never ko naisip na magiging book designer ako or meron pa lang larangan na book design. When I was a kid, I thought I would be in advertising because my mother and my sister worked in advertising agency. So after school, I would visit them. So parang yun yung nasa consciousness ko noon. Nung natanggap ako and I guess because they were in advertising, my parents were very supportive of my creative endeavors kasi alam nila na may pera doon, gano'n, at mahalaga ang creativity. So, sinuportahan nila yung pag-art classes ko, ganyan. Kung ano-anong interest ko, support, gano'n. And I'm very lucky in that sense kasi alam ko maraming batang hindi sinuportahan at hindi pa rin sinusuportahan ng mga magulang nila. So, nung nag-aral ako sa Philippine High School for the Arts, I was a visual arts major at pinalad ako na maging scholar out of so many applicants. Doon ko na-realize na baka hindi pala advertising yung gusto ko kasi parang ayoko pala magbenta ng stuff. Parang ganon. I like the creativity but not necessarily the selling. At doon din sa makiling, doon ko din na-discover na meron palang film na trabaho. I discovered it kasi I learned na meron palang parang video camera, I think DV camera pa yun, na may camera yung school that we can actually borrow for school-related work. So I realized, can we make a film for our school requirements? And syempre, bilang art school, the faculty were very supportive. So kami naman as classmates, we were like, any chance we can get to make a film instead of take an exam or something, ginagawa namin. And I realized I like film kasi mahilig naman ako magsulat, mahilig din ako sa visuals, and in film, nakikita ko rin yung lahat ng disciplines working together. Kasi my classmates, for people who don't know, yung Philippine High School for the Arts has, high school ka pa lang, may major ka na, may art major ka na. You have visual arts, you have creative writing, you have dance. In dance, you can do ballet or folk dance. You can be a music major, and under music, it could be an instrument or it could be voice. Meron ding theater. Did I miss anything? Wala naman ata. So yun. So yung mga classmates ko, mahuhusay, may mga skills talaga sila. And in our films, I saw how we work together. And I felt like that's something I want to do. So dati akala ko magpa-fine arts ako or advertising, but I ended up applying for film and multimedia ng mga courses. And I got into film sa UP. And yun, In terms of book design, nagsimula siya generally sa publication design. Nung grade school pa lang ako, member na ako ng parang school magazine namin as an illustrator. Nung high school, I was a layout artist. And that's where I learned na may position pa lang gano'n. Hindi pala writer lang or illustrator lang. Kasi nung grade school, sinasubmit mo lang namin yung mga articles or images. And then magically, nagiging publication siya. Kasi syempre, ang mga yung grade school yung ipag-layout, diba? At that time, hindi pa ganun kadali yung technology. Nung high school, kami na yung gumagawa. So, doon ako natuto mag-Adobe PageMaker. Noon. That parang, nung sa situation namin, usually, kung editor ka, ikaw magle-layout ng page mo. But then, I was so happy with PageMaker that I offered to do everyone's pages. Yung mga nahihirapan, sige, ako na lang gagawa. Ganyan. Tapos ang output pa namin nun, camera ready. So, ipiprint siya with a laser printer and ibibigay yung physical na copy. So tuwang-tuwa ako doon. Nung college din, nag-apply din ako sa school paper. So, I was accepted into the Philippine Collegian as a layout artist. And I was for many years until naging editor-in-chief ako. And I was the first editor-in-chief from the graphics section. Normally, ang tingin sa mga taga-graphics section. Oo.
Galing.
Ay, ikaw palang una noon, no?
Ako yung una. Ako yung pangalawang film major.
Oh. Sino yung una?
Yung nauna si Jenny Bacon, 1998 yata.
Oh.
Ayun. So, usually ang tingin sa mga graphics section sa publication, like, alam mo yun, parang kolokoy, ganyan, seryoso, ganon. All the stereotypes of being an artist. Tapos, usually parang papabasa lang sa yung article and then, parang it comes at the end, na, kailangan pala namin ng illustration. Ganon. By the way. So, pakigawa yan. Parang ganon. And I think, in the collegian, it was quite different kasi nakikitang may hamon sa designers at sa artists na mag-step up, 'di ba? Na let your photos be an article, parang gano'n. Or yung artwork mo, minsan yung artwork mo doesn't even have to illustrate what the article says. Sometimes it's really your own take on the issue, parang gano'n. And may mga terms ng collegian that had cover illustrations or treatments that were graphic. So, unang nakikita mo talaga yung graphic identity ng publication. And I also found it interesting that every term of the collegian, the newspaper redesigns itself. Sa ibang school papers kasi, may look na sila and the next term just maintains it or innovates within that look, but it has to be that same look. Sa collegian talaga, nakita ko talaga na yung design really says something about the thrust of the term. Magiging broadsheet ba siya or tabloid? Anong typography? Will it be the Philippine Collegian or will it be Kule? Parang ganon. Anong angulo ni Oble? Anong treatment sa masthead? Mga ganong bagay. So I really saw na, yung design dito, hindi lang siya decoration. It really embodies, diba? It creates a visual grammar for the thrust, for the issues, how we stand, and how we want to approach people. So, yun yung naging training ground ko, the publication. And then, back to Makiling. Okay. Yung creative writing majors kasi ng Makiling, their final output is a book. So, high school ka pa lang, dapat meron ka ng ma-publish na libro. That's your thesis. And my first book design was for a schoolmate who did her book. So I was in first year college and she was a senior. Si Marie Lavinia, her book was called Karenina and Humanity's Sad Gun. So that was my first book design. And I'm quite happy with that book design. When I look at it now, maayos pa rin siya. Hindi siya nakakahiya. So with that, dun pa lang, parang masaya na ako. Kasi minsan parang 2 years old pa lang, parang nakakahiya na, di ba? So yun, and then the next year, the collegian put out a literary anthology called 24/7 Walang Panahon. I also designed that, and I became a little more experimental with the material, yung papel na ginamit, ganyan, yung two-color printing, etc. And again, always the challenge na how do you create a visual grammar or a visual language or a material palette that will not just express, kasi parang hindi siya active expression, meron ding subconscious na parang nararamdaman mo lang, or you're setting a situation, di ba, or creating a stage, parang ganun. The design, what you feel, how you touch it, anong laki niya, how you can interact with it, meron na siyang sineset sa'yo na expectation or mood or frame with which to enter that world. And this is something na hindi I realized noon na bago pa man basahin ng kahit sino yung article or tingnan yung illustration, the design already communicates to the viewer. Kami yung nasa front line, parang ganun. So kailangan maganda siya. Kasi kung pangit siya, kahit gaano kaganda yung article, hindi siya babasahin. Hindi siya pupulutin ng mga estudyante. And that was always our challenge. So that kind of thinking I brought into the books. And a few years later, nung senior na ako sa college, on my last sem, I started freelancing. And I was invited to design the cover of Philippine Studies, the journal ng Ateneo. Alam niyo naman, ang mga journal, walang pera. So I was a student, I was very affordable and very experienced. So they were open to getting me. May portfolio naman ako of some sort in student publications. So tumaya sila sa akin. Ako naman, happy to do it. Mahilig ako sa books, mahilig ako sa Philippine culture, edi game. And yun, so I redesigned it. They were very happy. And until now, I still design Philippine Studies. Parang 15 years later. Oh my God, that was 2007.
Wow.
Yun. And may evolutions naman yung design or refinements, pero generally it's still the same visual identity. Yun. And from Philippine Studies, which was then under the Ateneo Press, they invited me to do books from there, and that started me doing Ateneo books. And because of how happy they were with the design of Philippine Studies, I was also invited to do other journals. And yeah, so for the next years, that was how I had a career. Parang I decided to stick to print design. Ang uso kasi noon digital eh. Like everyone was learning digital and motion graphics and things like that. Haba ako naman, I felt like a Luddite sometimes na parang bakit print tayo, no? Umaalis na yung mga tao dito. Pero that's what I really like. Kasi parang because of digital, naging challenge na how do you make print desirable, attractive. Parang dahil hindi na default yung print, anong kailangan gawin ng design na kailangan niya i-justify sarili niya na ipiprint siya, na bibilin siya ng mga tao, that it will take up physical space in their homes. There was that kind of challenge. And then when you also look at the poster, parang hindi lang siya yung look per se, but the tactility, diba, the size, whatever. May challenge din talaga sa print to justify its existence. So I like that challenge. I guess para siyang word of mouth na since they like my book, sometimes I won awards, I would get approached by other presses or other authors, other journals, ganun. So nabuhay naman ako doon. Minsan nagtataka yung mga tao na, wow, ang dami-dami mo pala nagawang book design. And ako naman, parang inisip ko, well, kailangan ko mabuhay. Pag isa lang yung ginawa ko, hindi ako mabubuhay. So I really had to take on a lot of work.
Ang humble nung ilang awards at ilang tao lang. Well, i-google nyo na lang po kung sino yung kaninong mga libro ang mga na-layout ni Karl. And also, maliban sa pangalawang EIC na film, ikaw, isa ka din sa, ang naalala ko ay, ikaw yung kuli na walang kuli. Kasi walang, di ba? Was that year?
Tama. Milestone nga yun kasi yung term ko, the first collegian term na first time na hindi lumabas yung collegian since either Japanese, World War II or martial law. So parang feeling ko, napakamalas ko ba? Na kung kailan may excited yung graphic section, I had a really strong team with me and we were very excited na parang to churn out a beautiful cover week after week. Tapos biglang, wala. Hindi ako lalabas. kailangan mo ipaglaban yung mga ilabas yung dyaryo. Tapos syempre dahil fundraising mode, independent, like sobrang husay ng team namin noon, and we had to figure out how to represent ourselves in 4 pages, in 8 pages, in black and white. Tapos ako naman as a super introvert, kailangan ko makipag-usap sa mga administrador, kailangan ko magsalita sa mga mobilisasyon, kasabay pa yun nung tuition increase sa UP. So parang I was considered a student leader. And all I wanted was to design a publication. Ni ayokong magsalita. So naalala ko talaga yun. Sobrang traumatic yun for me na ayoko talaga humarap sa mga tao. Minsan, kailangan ko magsalita, I would get so tongue-tied. Actually, that's partly why I went into teaching. I realized na, syempre meron akong paninindigan, meron akong gustong i-push na mga issue, na mga approach to design. Kung hindi ako matututong magsalita sa harap ng mga tao, hindi ako uunlad. So that is one of the reasons why I started to teach. Kasi para masanay akong nagpapaliwanag at nagsasalita sa harap ng tao, I have such terrible stage fright. Yun. So, unti-unti, by teaching, medyo nasasanay ako. I can't say na ang galing-galing kong magsalita. Hanggang ngayon parang bulol pa rin naman ako. Kinakain ko pa rin yung salita and enunciation, not so good. Pero yun, ang dami ko rin natutunan sa pagturo.
Ako, I really like what you said kanina na paano i-justify ng print yung existence niya, no, dun sa space, discipline. And yun din yung lakas na push, no, yung push na kaya ka rin nandyan, nag-stay ka dyan sa larangan. And also, dun din sa pagtuturo, yung pagpupush mo din na, teaching will also push me out of my comfort zone. So actually, komportable ka, no? You're comfortable being out of your comfort zone. That's what I get from what you said, no? With that, anong masasabi mo for our listeners na may mga designers din kasi na they really want to venture book design or explore also teaching, ganyan, yung iba pang labas din sa kanilang comfort zone. Anong pwede mong ma-advise sa kanila?
Okay. That's a good question. Actually, usually, kasi nagtuturo ako sa fine arts, information design. I teach typography, I teach Philippine design, I teach print techniques, mga ganon. And I think there is an expectation na pag magtuturo ka ng design, you're going to teach people software, you're going to teach people how to do things. My focus is always how you see things. Kasi, yung techniques, madaling matutunan yan. There are so many tutorials out there. Even in a software, meron siyang help function that tells you how to use the software. And software, platforms change every year. So, sa akin, ayoko mag-focus sa teaching people technical things kasi that's something you learn on your own. With your own experience of the software. Ang mahalaga sa akin ay magkaroon sila ng vision. And this is, I think, something that often goes unnoticed kasi sa mga creative industry natin, we're geared to aspire to be in the center. Na you want to make it, di ba? Gusto mo sumikat, you want to have a reputation, you want to be marketable, you want to be palatable to a wide array of clients, you want to show expertise. So, merong subtext usually ang design education na it's teaching you how to participate in the center, in the concerns and the techniques that the center needs. Kung ang kailangan natin ay annual reports, mga apps, mga advertisements, that's how you learn design. Your classes will teach you how to design a billboard, how to mount a marketing campaign, how to manipulate photos so that maganda yung images, di ba? How to edit, or how to make films in a way na para kunyari pang wedding video or pang ad campaign, di ba? Or a cinematic look. How do you conjure that parang Hollywood feel? These are little tips and tricks that are taught to us. Kumbaga, parang yung medium natin, para siyang kakabit ng ganitong ideolohiya. Na sa akin, hindi yan totoo. Design is so much more than advertising. But we think that advertising is design. Yun na yun. And that's the task that I try to tackle in my teaching. Na it's really just opening up the possibilities of the practice. Na sa akin kasi, kung isa kang designer, meron kang choice, meron kang agency to decide kung how you would do your practice. Kung gusto mo maging advertising expert, okay yun. You can choose to do that. But if you want to do other things, dapat bukas pa rin yun. Kasi sa university, hindi to vocational school, hindi to design school ng ad agency. Free space siya, may academic freedom. Hindi to dapat nakatali sa employability, sa kung ano yung demand ng market or ng industry. Kailangan pwede ka magdikta, humabi ng sarili mong practice. And I think some designers don't think of that because it's not shown to them that there are other possibilities. 'Di ba? Parang kaya mo ba maging filmmaker na hindi ka gumagawa ng mga Hollywood types or mga telenovela, teleserye or ad campaign? Kaya ba? What does that look like? Yun. So sa akin, you have to see things differently. You have to see beyond what's offered to you. Kaya yung nabanggit mo sa akin na I'm comfortable outside of my comfort zone, kailangan Kasi if you're in your comfort zone, you're only doing what you already know. And if you stay within the comfort zone, the larger comfort zone of what design is, then you'll just be doing what's already been done. You will be, kumbaga, magiging kamay ka lang. If the demand is for social media, hindi mo ka-questionin na bakit social media yung gagawin mo. Gagawin mo lang siya. And that is already a big challenge. How to do well in social media. Malaking challenge na yon, which will need all your talents and techniques and patience and hours. Pero kung hindi mo maiisip na pwede ka pala maging designer na hindi concerned sa social media, parang kulang. So kailangan kaya mo ring mamapa yung terrain ng industriya mo at malaman kung saan mo ba talaga gustong lumugar. And there are students of design who might not end up being designers. They might end up in the music industry or being accounts people or admin people or maybe even in a completely different industry altogether. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na wala ka matututunan sa proseso ng design. So I always try to assure din my students na you're not all here to become designers. You're here to learn from the practice of design. And this might apply in whatever life journey that you choose. Kasi may shame na parang pag hindi ako naging designer, marami ako students na hindi po ako magaling na illustrator. And then they feel like they're not good designers because they can't illustrate. When illustration is not design. Like you can be a designer and not an illustrator. Alam mo yun? Yun lang. So parang yung ganong klaseng confidence lang na you don't have to be good at everything that you're told to be good at or well-worn na path na familiar ka. What if hindi pala yun yung path mo? Dapat you should not feel like a failure. You should feel like you have the capability and the choice to find your own path. It might be difficult, pero it's the tenacity to stick with that path and your own sensibility na mahirap ngayon. Kasi di ba ngayon parang in the age of the internet and social media, parang instant lahat Pag hindi mo nakuha yung message ng video in the first 10 seconds, may maling nangyari. Pag hindi mo nakuha yung esensya ng text in the first paragraph, may maling nangyari. Di ba? Pag may nilabas ka na artwork, tapos walang likes, hindi ka magaling. Parang ganon. May instant culture na deprioritize things that take time, things that don't get approval easily. For young designers, you have to see the world differently. Kasi ngayon sa sobrang dami ng pwede mong makita, you just scroll through it. Or pag may nakita ka in your environment, di mo pinapansin. Pero design is really about looking and understanding and seeing what's not there, seeing what's unseen. It's not about making pretty surfaces. It's about going beyond the surface, finding out what structures you can create or dismantle. Parang ganun. The techniques that are really important, hindi mo yan makukuha ng agad-agad. Pag nag-try ka, kunyari gumamit ng design software, the first 5 things na gagawin mo, malamang pangit yan. Di ba? Pero and uncomfortable yun eh, di ba? Yung parang nakasampung gawa ka na pangit pa rin. Out of your comfort zone yun eh. You have to learn how to stick there. Kasi kung hindi ka mag-stick doon, wala kang patutunguhan. Lahat ng susubukan mo magiging tsaka sa simula. Unless sobrang genius mo or sobrang swerte mo na unang subok mo pa lang, wow, masterpiece. Okay, congrats. And there are certain forms na actually madaling makagawa ng magandang results. And I think that's the kind of output that our current media landscape valorizes. Diba? Kunyari sa YouTube, wala nang edit-edit, wala nang color grading, walang scripting. Ano na, yun na yun. Diba?
Diretso na.
Diretso na, diba? Pangit, go. Diba? Sa Facebook, kung gagawa ka ng social media card, screenshot mo na lang sinulat mo sa notes. Labas na yan, okay na yan, diba? Kasi that's the sensibility that the platform needs. It doesn't care what kind of content you put out. Ang kailangan lang may content. That's why we call it content. It doesn't matter what it is. You just have to feed the machine with content. Otherwise, it will not run. Yung medium nyo, hindi siya trabaho lang. Siyempre, may ganun siyang factor, pero hindi lang yun. May implications yung choices natin in what kind of practice you're gonna have, and also what kind of society that your practice will be located in. Di ba? Anong values ba yung iuhulma mo? Susuportahan mo? Ano ba yung klaseng values na nire-replicate mo, whether iniisip mo or hindi? Kailangan nakikita mo yun. Hindi mo nakikita yun eh, di ba? Pag gumawa ka ng TikTok video, hindi mo naiisip na nilalamon ka ng sistema eh. You're just having fun. But that's the point. Sorry, yung haba na sinabi ko. Simple lang naman yung tanong.
When you talk about design, and you talk about being creative, tapos you're not talking about being sellable. Napakalaking na yun, divergence in our...
Kasi we always complain, di ba, na parang ang baba ng tingin sa designers. Well, kailangan taasan muna natin yung tingin natin sa mga ginagawa natin,
exactly,
di ba?
Yeah.
Eh kung tingin talaga natin na kamay lang tayo, na tagapili lang tayo ng kulay at ng font,
True.
Yun talaga yung mangyayari sa atin, tagapili lang tayo nun. Challenge yun sa students. Kung gusto nyo, if you want people to take you seriously, you have to take your profession and what you do seriously. And you have to be able to explain that to people. Di ba? Haharap ka sa mga kliyenteng walang pake sa design at sa ethics at sa ideologiya at sa form at technique. Wala silang pake. And you have to be able to face those people and explain it to them. I learned actually na that was a huge part of what my work was. Akala ko dati, I was just there to do the work. I also have to explain pala to the people I work with what I actually do. Ano ba yung art director? Ano ba yung layout artist? Anong pinagkaiba dun sa graphic designer? To be able to do your work, you have to be able to educate your coworkers about what your work is. Ano yung scope, ano yung limitations, ano yung entanglements na iniisip mo. Kasi minsan iniisip nila, asa na yung layout? Nung 3 araw na yung lumipas ha, parang feeling kasi nila, yun nga, parang ka na namimili sa drop-down menu. Okay, ano yun? Parang si Doraemon, di ba? Ipa-print out mo lang yung... parang ganun. Hindi nila naiisip na you are wrangling with things and choices outside in your head. Kino-cross-reference mo sa kasaysayan, sa ano ba yung ano yung forms na prevalent sa genre na pinapasok nyo, ano yung future implication. Parang ang dami-dami mong iniisip when making these choices. And syempre parang pag sinabi kong iniisip ko pa po kasi parang baka sapakin ka ng kliyente, di ba na? Bilis mo mag-isip. So you have to kind of explain to them ano ba yung thought process. Kailangan maipaliwanag mo yun. And partly in my teaching, that's also what I tell my students na itong mga klase nyo, piniprepare kayo para kaya nyo ipaliwanag yung mga choices nyo. When the client tells you, I don't like the font, kailangan mo ma-defend yun na bakit yun yung font na pinili mo at paano niya sinasagot yung concerns ng client, yung objectives ng project, at bakit hindi pwedeng kung ano lang yung type ng client na font, yun yung piliin. Kasi minsan nangyayari talaga yun, di ba?
Oo.
Kung ano yung favorite color ng client, kung anong artista yung gusto niyang ilagay na endorser, mga ganyan, kung ano yung trip ng client or nung anak niya or ng asawa niya, yun yung susunod. And you have to be able to assert your professional opinion in a way that would enlighten them din na, kaya pala hindi pwede yung favorite color ko kasi tataliwas siya dun sa objective ng project, parang ganun, or ng integridad. Although minsan, kung sila naman yung kliyente, bigay mo na yung favorite color niya. Pero dapat, alam mo rin kung how will you make that color work? Kung pangit yung kulay for you, how do you make it not pangit? Kasi wala namang intrinsically pangit na kulay.
From what you're saying, Carl, kasama noong pagyakap doon sa trabaho, sa profession, no? Doon sa work, ay pagyakap doon sa labor, no? Ng pagpapaliwanag at paggigiit, no? Kasi ganun ko siya nakikita. At hindi lang siya natatangi, no, doon sa designing, no? I think sa iba pang field ng arts, yan din ay isa sa mga issue, no? So dahil doon sa ganyang labor na sinasabi natin, masasabi mo ba na mahalaga na yung mga estudyante natin ngayon or estudyante mo ngayon sa design ay kilalanin yung profession na hindi lang ito passion lang, ganyan. Kasi mga ganun, or ano lang, kasi may mga ganun, di ba? May ganun pagtingin sa arts na ito ay kumbaga, ano to, nakuha mo to sa blood mo, artist ka talaga to begin. May mga ganun eh. Gusto kong ibasagin yung ganung myth ganyan. So, yes, ano masasabi mo doon sa ganoong pagtingin?
Well, on the one hand, totoo naman, I think some people are born more artistically inclined. And if they are born into a situation which nurtures that, marami talaga silang pwedeng magawa. But anyone can be an artist. Ano ba yung art? Actually, even in the art world, yan naman talaga yung try define. Ano ba yung art? And I think kung lalawakin natin yung konsepto ng art, literally like what constitutes art and also who can make art or design even. Marami tayong matututunan eh. Like when we think of design, hindi natin iniisip na, kunyari, kakain ka sa karinderya, may design ba at work doon? Meron eh. Kung paano serve yung pagkain, kung paano siya pinapackage, ano yung portions. I mean, even in these things na hindi natin masasabing sexy or seductive or visually extravagant, may design sensibility at work, di ba? Pag kumain ka ng suman, kung paano siya pinackage, paano siya prepare, ano yung logic nun, may design dun eh. Di ba? Yung suman ang dami-daming klase ng suman, but usually they're wrapped in leaves, 'di ba? They are made in a way na they're portable, na may serving size siya. At sustainable siya, 'di ba? Walang tapon, 'di ba? Kahit itapon mo lang yung mga dahon, they will go back into the earth. May design doon. Pero when you go into school to learn design, hindi mo naiisip na suman is design. Hindi nag-design school yung gumawa ng suman na packaging. Pero nagde-design siya. Mapapaisip ka, una, ang i-design ko lang ba ay kailangan nakatali sa software? Can I be a designer if I don't use computers, for example? Sa akin, tingin ko, pwede. Kasi, pero paano? Ano ba yung proseso ng design? Inquiry yun eh, na parang, I think dapat matutunan yun ng lahat ng tao na design is everywhere at hindi siya nakatali sa apps, sa software, sa typography, sa seductive surfaces. Hindi yun eh. It's not how it looks, it's how it works. And we all contribute to how things work. May design doon. Even yung design na, kunyari, inarrange mo yung furniture sa living room nyo, may design doon. Kasi may flow ka na ginagawa, meron kang ginagawang areas may dinedefine ka na areas. Ito ay for tambay, for reading, di ba? Ilang tao yung ma-accommodate. Meron kang siniset na situations just by arranging furniture. That's design. Now, if you make furniture, ibang level yun ng design. So that's one aspect. Kung akala mo, kailangan maging illustrator, hindi naman pala. Hindi naman illustrator yung gumagawa ng suman, pero designer siya. Di ba? May design siyang ginagawa. On the other hand, na papalawak din kung yung notion natin na who can design. Di ba? Na hindi, kahit walang degree, pwede ka mag-design. Or meron kang design knowledge na ginagawa, what are the ways in which you acquire these processes, these techniques, this knowledge? Hindi lang yan necessarily nakuha sa libro or sa video. Parang ganun. And I think it's very humbling to know na ang dami palang pwedeng i-consider na design at ang dami ring tao na pwedeng gumawa ng design. Hindi ka special na tao in that sense. Walang innate genius. Kasi kahit yung tindera ng suman sa palengke, on some sense, ka-level mo siya. Walang masama doon. Hindi yun ibinababa yung ginagawa mo. Hindi rin yun overly inaangat yung ginagawa ng tindera. Kasi pareho kayo ng ginagawa. Yung nagtitinda ng taho, di ba? Pag sumisigaw siya ng taho, advertising strategy yun eh. So if you're working in an ad agency at feeling mo you're the hot shot, a big deal, well, ka-level mo lang yung nagtitinda ng taho or yung barker ng jeep. Kasi pareho kayo ng ginagawa. You're selling a service and making it palatable to your audience. And it's that kind of removing the layer of mystique, the veil of glamour that goes in, that is usually accompanied sa work natin eh, na, diba, when we think of design, good design, ano ba yung nasa mga annual ng mga graphic design annuals, mga kapal na libro or mga nalalagay sa exhibit, mga na-feature sa magazine. That's not all there is to it. And you don't even have to go to the university. Although, syempre, the university offers you a kind of set of hurdles which will help you understand. Kaya nga may certification kayo kasi pinagdaanan mo yung hurdles na that would allow people to say na you know design kasi pinagdaanan mo to. People go through those hurdles in different ways in their lives, even outside the university. They can have the same knowledge or even better knowledge without going through the path that you chose in the university. Tingnan natin yung design that way. Hindi siya dapat elitista. Hindi pwedeng, and it can be the same for art. Ganun siya eh. Parang hindi siya nasa kamay lang ng iilan by nature. It is because of certain social situations, kaya siya ganito. Ganito yung design sa panahon natin or sa bansa natin or sa bayan mo or sa office nyo kasi may particular na arrangement ng mga factors that make it that way. But it need not be that. Yun. So yung sinasabi mo na parang may labor at work, lahat naman may labor. Kahit naman maging stay-at-home husband ka, may labor doon.
Mm-hmm.
Di ba? Or actually, sa atin nga, kahit nga pumasok ka lang sa trabaho, parang dapat nga sinweldohan ka na sa pag-commute pa lang dahil
Yahe.
Diba? Parang Takeshi's Castle Hunger Games yung pagpasok pa lang sa trabaho. Diba? Kakaapak ko lang sa office, haggard na ako. Kailangan ko na magpalit ng pagkatao para maging presentable ako humarap sa office. Parang gano'n. Diba? Kung minimystify mo na, hindi, I'm just a genius. I can do whatever. Walang labor dun eh.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang, and some people get away with that actually, na pangalan lang or reputation or privilege. Yung,
shots are fired.
Diba? Shots are fired. Wala akong babanggiting pangalan. Taga-bato sa langit. Hindi, yun. If you think that labor is beneath you, nako ate, mag-isip-isip ka na kasi hindi pwede yan. Kahit yung mga pinaka-mahuhusay na designer, no task is too small. Every field gives you that experience to know yourself, to know your world, know your society, know your place in it, shape your values. Kaya siya seryosong larangan. Kaya siya merong higher studies. Kaya siya merong pagdadalubhasa. Kaya merong mga kurso, mga certificates. Diba? Kasi larangan siya na mahalaga. And if we don't think of art, design, humanities as mga larangan that really asks these questions, maybe are we doing yung mga larangan natin a disservice? Minamaliit ba natin? Huwag tayo mag-isip na minamaliit ng mga ibang tao yung larangan natin kasi tayo mismo hindi natin pinapahalagahan yung anong pwedeng mabigay ng larangan natin.
Minamaliit tayo ng mga gustong i-maintain yung ganitong pagtingin.
Oo, di
For
ba?
us to...
Yung mga ayaw magbayad sa'yo dun sa labor na ginagawa mo when you actually design.
Exactly.
Diba? Because they want to think na when you design, you're just choosing a typeface and picking an illustration from Google Images and putting it in their PubMat. When that's not what you're doing. You're doing so many things. May research yan, may history, may psychology. Alam mo, ang dami-dami talagang fields na overlapping with design na ginagawa ng isang designer. Kahit nga yung, kunyari, magde-design ka lang ng social media card, anong language yung gagamitin mo, anong words, anong images, yung pagpili, hindi siya hindi siya simpleng pagpili. May thought doon. May communication, may writing. Paano mo pagkakasya yung lahat? How do you edit out yung hindi kasya or yung hindi mag-work? Mga ganun. Ang dami-daming ginagawa.
Nabanggit mo na ibang mga aspects pa. How we know you also as a filmmaker. At iba pang mga ginagawa or you study film at iba pa. At mga marami mo pang interest. How does film and designing meet for you? Or yung iba mo pang interest?
Okay. May malaking pagkakapareho ang filmmaking at ang design kasi there's a large part of them that is concerned with storytelling. And actually when people ask me, I always tell them that studying film helped me so much in book design. Kasi sa film, doon ko nakuha yung theories of editing, of montage, of linear and non-linear narrative, 'di ba? Of mise-en-scène, yung kung ano yung nakikita mo sa screen. If you think of the page as a screen, ganun din eh. You're setting the stage or the situation in the frame. Kumbaga, when I design, may element doon ng production design. Ano yung kulay na nakikita ko, anong shapes, ano yung scale sa isang frame. May pagkakapareho siya eh. And I think learning about film actually helped crystallize some ideas about how to tell a narrative in book form. Kasi pareho silang storytelling, may pagkakaiba lang yung platform. Yung film, audiovisual siya and time-bound. Yung libro, sequential siya na arrangement ng physical pages and hindi siya time-bound. Yung film, normally you would watch it from the start to the finish. Hindi ka naman magsisimula sa gitna, tapos magka-hop-hop ka. Hindi mo gagawin yun. Pero sa libro, pwede mong gawin yun. And you have to design with that in mind, na kailangan, what if sa chapter 2 mag-start yung tao, anong experience yung makukuha niya? Or pag tiningnan ba yung libro mo ng mabilis lang, like skinan lang, may makukuha ba siya or wala? Paano pag binasa niya closely? Ano yung difference na makukuha niya from pagbasa niya ng mabilis lang? When you design a book, there are many layers and many entry points for different kinds of readers. Kunyari, hindi mahilig magbasa yung tao. Pag tinignan ba niya yung libro niya, may mapugulat siya? Are the images themselves and in their sequence and in their composition, arrangement on the page, is it already saying something? Are you being inclusive din, 'di ba? Parang pag nakita mo ba yung libro, are you being excluded? Pag hindi mo naintindihan yung language, pag alam mo yung language pero hindi mo pa rin naintindihan yung pagkasulat, or pag mahirap siya basahin, or pag masakit sa mata yung page, may ina-exclude ka na dun eh. So, I learned so much from how films are made and apply them into books and even in exhibitions. Like when you design an exhibition, essentially it's like a book except it's in an environment. Storytelling din yun eh. Ang pinagkaiba lang kung medyo anarchist na yung entry point sa book, mas anarchist pa sa exhibit kasi they can choose to not look at everything, di ba? Pero when you're designing an exhibit, you're making the pieces converse. What conversations will the viewer get kung dumaan lang siya na mabilis? Kung hindi niya tinignan lahat ng objects, kung nag-start siya sa isang area imbis na sa isang area, kailangan from every type of engagement, for every type of audience, sinisigurado mo na meron silang makukuha na yung topic na tinatakol nyo, meron silang kinds of insights. As a reader, mahilig din kasi ako magbasa, mahilig ako manood, mahilig ako tumingin ng exhibit. Nakikita ko yun eh. If it doesn't work, I ask why. And I say na parang, and I discover na, okay, may hindi sila magandang ginawa. Or masyado silang bumangko na inassume nila na babasahin ko closely lahat ng nilagay nila sa libro. Hindi ko ginagawa yun. So wala akong nakukuha kasi they didn't factor in the design na what if tamad pala yung nagbabasa? Or what if matanda pala yung nagbabasa? Hindi ko mababasa yung maliliit na text. Diba? Mga ganun. Or sometimes kung hindi mo mababasa yung caption, walang context yung image, how do you ensure na hindi ko mami-misunderstand yung nakikita ko? Yun. I learned all of that from filmmaking. Kasi as a change in scoring, a change in color grading can totally change your experience of a film, di ba? And that's also in connection with genres. Alam mo, pag horror, malamang yung madilim, medyo kulay blue or green, di ba? Pag romance, parang laging warm, tapos smooth yung balat ng mga tao, ganyan, may kinang, may glow, mga ganon. May choreography of some sort. Yeah. And learning about how it's done in the media sphere helped me see it in the visual and design sphere. Kaya rin, siguro sa akin, ang nakikita ko rin dun sa iba-ibang larangan na pinasok ko. Dati iniisip ko parang ano ba to, yung mga kabatch ko, ano na, pasok mo sa mga international festivals, may mga career na, haligi na ng industriya, habang ako, wala pa akong pelikula, parang lagi ako nako-conscious dun eh. Pero I just try to keep in mind na meron akong ibang path. And hindi ko path yung path nila. So, hindi ako dapat mainggit in that sense. Kasi I made different choices and they have different concerns. Pero sa nakikita ko, it makes sense naman na the paths I took are connected and they're helping me. Like, I'm sure in the event that I make a film na full length, it will be different because I have the experience I have in making books, in designing exhibits. Actually, medyo nakikita ko na siya sa YouTube videos na ginagawa ko. I started making videos on YouTube about books, art, and design because there was really a need for it. Like, walang Filipino culture-related materials on YouTube masyado. And kung meron man, they're delivered in a different kind of modality na sometimes parang TV pa rin, or sometimes mababaw lang yung mga tanong na tinatanong, mas entertainment siya or whatever. May YouTube videos, if kung hindi nyo bookings with Karl Castro on YouTube, youtube.com/Karl Castro. Ayun. Para silang slideshow. And dati I felt bad na, gumawa na ako ng film, but para siyang slideshow, glorified slideshow. Mas maganda lang yung itsura, mas marami lang moving parts, pero slideshow pa rin siya. Pero I realized na that was my sensibility at work kasi I value yung parang book na static pages being put in a sequence. Nakikita ko yung graphic design na parang important sa akin yung nilalagay ko on screen kasi may nakukuha rin doon. And in a way, para siyang exhibit din na when I curate what clips or what ideas go after another and then how they're arranged in the sequence of the film, curation na rin yun. So, sobrang uncomfortable siya for me until now. Pero I'm just trusting na may patutunguhan to or this is the natural development of the path kasi nga ito yung mga sensibilities ko. So therefore, it will materialize in a different way that hopefully will make sense in the future.
Huwag nyo kalimutang i-check at i-like. Like and subscribe!
True!
Nag-promote pala na. Dami sinabi. Nag-promote lang pala.
Okay lang. Related naman eh.
Actually, I guess ganun din kasi yung pagtingin ko talaga sa publishing. magulo siya. It's not just about books.
Yeah.
At saka, ewan ko, I don't think it's a UP thing, pero when critical people discuss, parang I've heard this a lot of time of ito nga, isang larangan. Hindi sila nakafocus, pag nagdi-discuss nila, hindi sila nakafocus dun sa larangan para they keep on going in and out and to relate it always to many other things.
When you say a field, di ba, larangan, literally, ano ba yung larangan? Hindi siya isla, di ba? Yung larangan, connected siya sa maraming bagay. It's just a kind of horizon na, or a kind of temporary spotlight na loosely aggregated. Ito yung larangan natin. Pero the more you know about your field, nakikita mo yung weather, climate, galaw ng mga tao, galaw ng mga hayop, anong klaseng biological process, geological processes. Parang when you really look at your field, so to speak, literally as in field, ang dami nangyayari. And interrelated ang mga bagay. Kaya rin, di ba may mga, kunyari, I also teach, natutuwa ako sa Ateneo, meron silang Department of Interdisciplinary Studies na tinitingnan lang yung proseso kung paano nagiging interdisciplinary yung mga bagay. Meron ding, when you also say interdisciplinary, minsan, is it multidisciplinary? Is it is it anti? Parang iba-iba yun eh. Iba-iba yung, hindi siya interchangeable. Parang ganun. Meron siyang pagkakaiba. So, when you become more aware of those, kasi syempre, the deeper you go into your field, the more na nakikita mo na parang hindi naman pala siya pagkakaiba. Like, kunyari sa akin, when I look at design, napupunta ako sa interest ko sa architecture na actually, I think I could have been an architect if I chose. Isa yun sa mga pinag-isipan kong course kung kukunin ko. Maraming magkakapareho na funny na the more I look at film or graphic design, napupunta rin ako sa ano bang matututunan ko from architecture. Ganun. So, I think it's important, again, for everyone to cultivate their passions and, okay naman na may hobbies tayo, pero what if yung hobbies natin ay hindi lang pala hobby? What if there are signposts that tell us na there is something to be discovered in that field, di ba? At magkakakabit ng mga field, di ba? Pag tumingin ka naman sa mapa, kahit papunta ka ng Laguna, may signboard na papuntang Quezon, papuntang Batangas, papuntang Bulacan, pabalik ng Manila. Pwede, ikaw yung magde-decide kung ano yung ruta mo at kung saan yung endpoint mo. At minsan hindi mo malalaman kung saan yung endpoint mo until dumating ka na sa end. Diba? So ganun siya. So fields are there for us to really explore and to see how they are similar to and different from other fields. Kaya kunyari, nung pinasok ko yung filmmaking, alam ko yung difference niya sa publishing. Alam ko rin yung similarity. Alam ko rin yung similarity nila sa art. Diba? Architecture, textile, ganyan. Nakikita ko eh. And it's the more I look at these fields and understand them, the better I understand my own fields. Diba? Yun.
Para sa ating mga listeners, no, anong gusto mo na ibahagi sa kanila, sa mga makikinig nitong episode na to, tungkol sa not just design, not just about film, how art makakatulong sa atin sa panahon ngayon, no? Contextualize ko sa panahon ng pandemya at sa crisis, no? At by the way, no, ilang trilyon na yung utang natin palabas, so sa ganoong level, no, ng konteksto. Sige,
okay.
Ang laki ng tanong pero go.
Sige. Challenge accepted. Wow, joke. Okay. And ngayong pandemic, 'di ba? Hindi tayo nakakalabas. We have to stay at home. At ang ating pakikitungo sa mga tao at sa mundo ay usually mediated ng technology, mediated ng platforms, mediated ng mga outlets, intermediaries, yung mga sino yung fina-follow mo, anong pages, anong networks, sinong creators ang fina-follow mo, anong platforms may access ka, may Netflix ka ba, may iOne, YouTube ka ba, tumitingin ng content, or sa TikTok, or sa Instagram, di ba? Yung pakikitungo natin, mediated. We have to pay attention to that process of mediation. Kasi, ang very dangerous sa ating karanasan ngayong pandemya, actually even before, ganun na naman. Pero mas tumatak lang lalo ngayon kasi yun lang yung choice natin. Kung hindi tayo aware dun sa mediation at sa impact nito sa pag-experience natin ng realidad, madali tayong mapapaniwala sa disinformation, sa myths, sa anti-scientific ideas. Madali tayong magwawalang bahala sa hindi natin nakikita kasi may mediation. So, normally, di ba, when we just want to relax, we listen to music, we watch K-dramas or anime, di ba? Or makikibalita tayo sa Facebook kung ano yung trending, sa Twitter, ganyan. But even that, kung hindi tayo literate about how these materials are made, ano yung implications, at kung anong ibig sabihin nito, lalamunin talaga tayo ng mga materials na to. Kunyari, when you watch a K-drama, what does it say about humans, about life, about relationships? Kung hindi tayo critical, gusto lang nating i-replicate yung mga ganito. Next time manligaw ka sa jowa mo, you will i-hug mo siya from behind. Diba? Or hahalikan mo yung girlfriend mo nang walang consent. Diba? Kasi gawain yun ng mga K-drama, diba? Kailangan yung first kiss ng babae at ng lalaki, bigla ang hahalik yung lalaki, diba? Matututunan mo yan eh. Or kung gusto mo magpa-cute sa jowa mo, ano susuotin mo? Magle-layered, mga trench coat, papakulay ka ng whatever. Gagayahin mo yung K-fashion. Kasi feeling mo yun yung cute. Maghanap ka ng boyfriend na chinito, di ba? Maputi, na glass skin. Di ba? Kung babae ka, ang gagawin mo? Papakulay ka ng buhok or whatever. Kung hindi ka critical, i-replicate mo kung ano yung nakikita mo. Eh. And ano ba yung nakikita natin? Saan ba nanggagaling yan? Paano natin nakukuha yan? Pag hindi tayo aware dyan, my gosh, wala tayong filter, wala tayong paraan para maprotektahan mula sa disinformation at sa bad value. Kung hindi natin kukwestiyonin, for example, yung, di ba, ang dami-daming gustong maging influencer ngayon. Actually, if you ask young children, studies say, many of them want to be creators or influencers. What does that mean? Why do they want to be influencers? Is it because they look nice? Is it because they seem to have perfect lives? Is it because they have so much wealth? Because so much of influencing is about flaunting objects and houses and experiences that other people can't access? Is it about just perpetually having fun without having to think about difficult consequences? Diba? Obviously, hindi naman yung totoo. Kasi etos lang yung lahat. It's an illusion. It's a myth that is manufactured using storytelling, design, platform, techniques. At kung hindi tayo aware, wala tayong kapasidad na maging critical at i-reject yun. At kailangan, kaya nating i-reject yung mga bagay. Kasi yun yung consent, di ba? Wala namang masama sa pagiging influencer or pagiging mahilig sa K-drama. Basta alam mo yung implications ng pagpasok sa mga larangan na yun. Kung naniniwala ka talaga sa mga values na yun, at kung tingin mo sa dinami-dami ng posibleng values sa mundo, ay yun talaga yung gusto mo, at yun ang katotohanan, define. Pero dapat alam mo kung bakit. When you follow a creator, when you follow a celebrity, what are you really doing? Hindi ka lang nagsusubscribe sa content. Malamang may part of that worldview or morals that you share on some level. So pag hindi mo pinag-iisipan yun, napoprogram ka lang. kumbaga, think about it. The most important product ng tech ay yung user. Diba? Ang Facebook, kaya siya successful, hindi dahil sa Facebook na app, kundi dahil sa dami ng taong gumagamit ng Facebook and to continue to use it and share their data and share their experiences through that platform. Because it's not the only platform in the world where you can interact with other people. So, ang biggest invention nila ay yung Facebook user. And okay ka ba doon? Kasi kung masaya ka naman na pinapayaman mo si Mark Zuckerberg habang lumalaganap ang disinformation sa atin, 'di ba? And tinuturuan tayo ng mga masasamang bagay about ng mga kasinungalingan, 'di ba? Kung masaya ka naman na lumalamon sa kasinungalingan, okay lang, choice mo 'yan. Basta alam mo na lumalamon ka ng kasinungalingan. Kailangan alam mo na hindi tunay, hindi realidad, hindi moral at hindi ethical yung mga ideas na nilalamon mo. Yun lang. Kailangan aware ka. Kumbaga, pag kumain, di ba, pag tumitingin ka naman sa supermarket, well, kung critical ka na mamimili, titingnan mo yung laman. Titingnan mo yung ano yung ingredients nitong chips. Di ba? Or bibili ba ako ng chips? Ano ba to? Mga MSG? Ano ba to mga ingredients nito? Ano mga chemical to? Kung hindi ka nag-iisip, yung presyo lang yung, ay, ito yung pinakamura game. Ipapasok ko to sa katawan ko. I will literally eat it. Pero kung nag-iisip ka, di ba, you will be careful of what ingredients you put in your body. Ganon din sa media. Mag-iingat tayo. Okay, pinari ako, mahilig ako sa junk food. Super hilig ko sa junk food. Alam ko na masama siya for me. And alam ko. So hindi ako magugulat pag magkaroon akong sakit. Kasi alam kong unhealthy yung kinakain ko. At least aware ako. Pero even my awareness will also help me in moments na i-reject ko yan kasi I know it's unhealthy and I will regulate my use for it. Diba? My consumption of it. Kailangan may ganun tayong kapasidad with the media that we consume. And yun nga. And I think that's something you can learn from being a designer or from learning from the design process, being familiar with film, media, art, ganyan. Yun, it will give you a lens with which to be critical dun sa mediation, sa mediated world with which we think is reality. It's only one kind of reality.
Wow! Maraming salamat sa iyong suling pagbabahagi. Maraming salamat, Karl!
Thank you so much, Karl. Mega chikahan. Maraming salamat at sa lahat. Sana marami kayong natutunan. Alam kong marami kayong natutunan. At kung gusto niyo pang maraming natutunan, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Ito talaga doon. Follow me uncritically as you do your other things.
Baka may mga gusto na pa i-promote na.
Ay, plug. Go ahead, plug.
Exhibit or upcoming book.
Una kong gusto i-plug, if you want to have a more critical view of the world and be more conscious as artists and designers, sumali po kayo sa Concerned Artists of the Philippines. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Join. I designed a book for the Ateneo Press. Forthcoming pa lang siya. It's called Drugs in the Philippines. It's an anthology of articles edited by Gideon Lasco. So itong Drugs in the Philippines, binibigyan lang niya ng konteksto yung kasaysayan at mga issue ng drugs sa Pilipinas liban sa drug war. Hindi lang yon. Hindi lang si Duterte ang drugs in the Philippines. From the opium of the Spanish and American era to pharmaceuticals to kung ano-anong drugs. So if you want to learn more about drugs and why you should not do them, watch out for Drugs in the Philippines. Forthcoming from the Ateneo de Manila University Press. You can order it via Shopee and Lazada.
Maraming salamat, Karl!
Maraming salamat. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you!
Salamat.